The College Football Playoff Committee released their second-to-last rankings of the year, and their new top 10 is Clemson number 1, Auburn shockingly number 2 in my opinion, Oklahoma number 3, Wisconsin at number 4, Alabama slips number 5, Georgia goes to number 6, Miami down to number 7, Ohio State at number 8, Penn State number 9, which I completely disagree with, number 10 USC. So, moving on, if I were TCU fell number 11, and if I were TCU, I'd feel completely disrespected by the playoff committee because they just want to put in Penn State at number 9, even though they don't have nothing to play for. But TCU can pull off an upset against Oklahoma, and they wouldn't even get into the playoff. So, if I were TCU, I'd feel disrespected at that point because they didn't put them in the top 10. But let's go over some possible scenarios, as I promised. Let's just say that, let's go Clemson and Miami in the ACC title game, winners in. Let's do Auburn and Georgia. Winner of that one's going to be in. And let's say OU can take care of business and Wisconsin can take care of business. Okay, cool beans. These two win, they'll be in. Whoever wins these are going to be in. We've got the 4. Simple as that. But unfortunately, here with the scenarios here on Johnny Talk Sports, it can't be that simple. It just can't be simple. Let's just say Clemson beats Miami. Let's say Auburn beats Georgia again. Let's say Oklahoma takes care of business. They'll be 3. Let's just say Ohio State beat Wisconsin. So at this point, who'd be the 4th team? Would it be Bama? Or would it be Ohio State? This is going to be the biggest argument, and I think, out of this whole situation that we've had this, out of the 4 years we've had this, I think this will be the biggest controversy ever between Alabama and Ohio State being the 4. And I did make a thing earlier on how I thought if it came down to it, the committee would choose Alabama over Ohio State. And I'll put the link of that in the description box down below. I have some good points there, so you might want to check it out. I promise it's going to be worth it. So, let's just go over the resumes that they have. Alabama's biggest win. Alabama has big wins against. And I'm going to say they got a big win against Florida State. They got a big win against Mississippi State, who's still hanging in the top 25. And they've got a big win against LSU. Ohio State's biggest wins are against Penn State, who's still in the top 10, Michigan State, and I'm going to put their victory against Wisconsin in this scenario because in this scenario we'd be looking right back at it. So here's what they do, if what I think. Florida State was a number 3 team in the country when they played opening weekend. The whole Labor Day weekend. Big hype around this game. A spot in the playoff is going to be on the line. And Alabama won 24-7. But here's the excuse that I've heard all these experts that have used this whole time, this whole process. Alabama's winning against Florida State's not as convincing as Florida State is now 5-6 on the year. They lost their quarterback. They've lost offensive linemen. And Alabama's winning against Florida State is no longer convincing. Yeah, it is. Because when Alabama beat Florida State, when they were number 3, their quarterback went down in the 4th quarter. And let's not forget that Alabama was leading that game 24-7 when the quarterback went down, despite Alabama losing 2 big defensive presences, if that's even a word, on their defense. So, a linebacker with a big presence went out, and another linebacker with a big presence went out. So Alabama lost 2 big pieces of their presence on defense. So that's why Alabama's win against Florida State should still be considered convincing. And Mississippi State they went out. This was on the road. This was neutral site. This was on the road. But this was at home. However, Ohio State's their convincing wins are at home, and on a neutral site. So I think this might be the entire difference if it came down to Alabama and Ohio State, is this road victory right here. Because you could really debate this either way in this scenario. But again, you have to watch my piece on why I think Alabama will get in over Ohio State. This could ultimately be the difference. So let's do another scenario. I know people don't think this is going to happen, but it could happen. This is college football. Let's just say the complete opposite. Let's say Georgia beats Auburn in the rematch. Let's say I'm just gonna say it. I don't know who said that I could just say it, but we'll just say the turnover chain beats Clemson. I said it. Let's also say that Ohio State beat Wisconsin. And let's say that TCU pull out the ups against OU in the rematch. Would TCU be good enough to get in? Let's also add in the fact that USC beat Stanford. Let's not take the Trojans out of the picture quite yet. But Stanford right now is number 12. And USC's already beaten Stanford. They would have beaten Stanford twice in this scenario. But they would have bad losses against Washington State and Notre Dame. So that could count them out. But let's just say that if TCU and USC both win as 2 losses, Ohio State wins as 2 losses. Then we see OU, and we also see Clemson with 2 losses. Auburn gets knocked out because they would go down to 3 losses. So right now, who would join Georgia and Miami with just 1 loss? Do they bring in Alabama in this scenario on how I think the committee wants to operate? I think they bring in Alabama with 1 loss. So the question is, which 2-loss team would get in this scenario? Honestly, I think you would have no other choice but to select either Oklahoma or Clemson. This is the biggest scenario that could really blow up everything in this scenario. Because, in fact, let's just go right back to it. Georgia, Miami both win. Or Georgia in the turnover chain, okay. 1 loss. Alabama just sitting there with 1 loss. Ohio State sitting there with 2 losses. TCU sitting there with 2 losses. USC with 2 losses. Oklahoma and Clemson sitting with 2 losses as well. And let's also not forget Wisconsin with just 1 loss. Would the committee still put in the Badgers, despite the Badgers not having the type of resume that Ohio State could have, or that TCU could have, or that USC could have, that Clemson could have, or that Oklahoma could have? This just really just blows up this whole scenario. All right, last one. Let's just say Clemson gets the win. Let's also say that, let's say Georgia gets the win. Let's also say that, let's say Wisconsin gets the win. So, who would be 4 in this scenario? So Ohio State and Auburn get eliminated. They're gone. 3 losses. They're out of here. Would they put in Bama with 1 loss? Let's also say in this scenario, TCU pulled off the upset against Oklahoma. Could they still put in OU with 2 losses? Or would they bring in the Horned Frogs with 2 losses? See, this thing right here, all these possible scenarios, I do these for a reason. Because anything is possible here. who would they bring in at this point? Because Ohio State and Auburn are eliminated with 3 losses. Clemson, Georgia, Wisconsin, they're all sitting pretty as 3 nice little conference champions. Would they put in a 2-loss Big 12 champion? I don't think so. I think that's another scenario where Alabama gets in. I would say as long as if TCU or Ohio State win, Alabama's going to get in no matter what really happens. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Like and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with your friends and family. I will see you on Saturday night for my final playoff rankings of the year. And then I'll also be back again on Sunday after we find out who the committee will decide will be the 4 teams that will be playing for the national championship. I will see you then. It's going to be an exciting college football Saturday this week. So I will see you later. Enjoy it. Have a good week, everyone.